see. Hello everyone. Welcome to the What's Cookin' Facebook Live. I'm just going to get this all pulled up on my page here, and I'll give you guys a second to join in. I can see there's a couple of you there, but I just can't see who yet. I apologize that the lighting is not the greatest. I definitely need to look into figuring out some better lighting. I'm going to just move this a tiny bit. It's always a little different in the view that I have from up above before it goes live on Facebook. Maybe I'll eventually get that mastered. What is everybody up to tonight? And I feel like I need to ask, what is everybody cooking tonight? What did you guys have for supper? If it is the supper hour over in your corner of the world. Hi, Elaine, or Linda. Why do I keep wanting to say Elaine now? You've added the middle name in there and it throws me off every time, but hi, Linda. And Deb, I can see, is watching. So you guys have probably clued in that the bundle that I decided to feature for tonight is the What's Cookin' bundle. So I will bring that in a little closer to show you guys. Hopefully Janet will get a chance to tune in as well, because she has this bundle and this was her request. This is the first time I've played with this. Ooh, naan bread and Cobb salad. That sounds yummy. We're having leftovers. I have not eaten supper yet, but we made tacos last night, so that's what I will have. So I will jump right into showing you guys what this bundle includes. So this one is 20% off, along with the others that are part of the Spring is in Bloom promotion. I almost said Spring is in Bloom bundle, but it is the Spring is in Bloom promotion. So this one is on sale for $55 only. That's not so bad. It's probably not the bundle that's for everyone, but it's super cute. And these are the dies that come with this one. Again, because it's, ooh, leftover ribs with buns. You guys are having some delicious meals for supper. Yummy. Janet, what did you guys have for supper over there? See, she just joined in. If it's a homemade pizza, I'm going to be really jealous. All right, so this one obviously fits somewhere, but it has the bowl, which I will use tonight, and this cutting board here, which I'll also use. And then all of these different dies that coordinate with this stamp set here. So I didn't use a ton of the stamps, but I did use a couple. And then hopefully this isn't too wacky, but I thought that the What's Cookin' might be cute with a little baby onesie to create a little baby announcement. So I thought that it would be really cute if somebody had a little ultrasound photo that they could put in here. These are the cute little boxes from the spring or January to June catalog. They are called Sweet Little Boxes, and they are the perfect size to put a gift card. So I thought that it would be good for either giving a gift card to some parents-to-be, or you could fit a little ultrasound photo inside there, and then that could be a way to make a baby announcement. So you guys can tell me if this is just too crazy, but baked potato, man, you guys all had delicious things for supper. And chili, yum. I am like becoming more and more hungry now. So I don't know, do you guys think that's appropriate or inappropriate? What's cooking? It's like the bun in the oven, right? So that was what my thinking was with that, was to make a little bun in the oven box. Be cute if there was like a little gift card in there to go and get cinnamon buns or something like that. All right, so I will need these two, so I'm going to keep them handy, and then I'll just set these aside. But it also has the sending you a dash of kindness and a spoonful of love, What's Cookin', happiness is homemade and for you. So you could also, if you're giving this card, I think it would be fun to use for scrapbooking or things like that, but you could also give a gift card to a restaurant with you might want to switch the greeting from the homemade to something else, like maybe the for you or the sending you a dash of kindness and a spoonful of love. But you could totally use this stamp set when you're giving gift cards to restaurants, or if you were making a meal, like Janet, when you make that homemade pizza to give away, you could always use that greeting with that. So it's actually got more versatility than you might originally think. But I'll put these aside. And I wanted to show you guys the paper that I chose to use with this one here. It's pretty subtle, the pattern that I used. This is from the In Good Taste DSP from the annual catalog. And then I paired it with the Painted Texture embossing folder. And I have to show you guys the original card as well afterwards that this one is cased from. So I want to show you, I had all of these patterns out because I wasn't sure which pattern I wanted to put here. I wasn't sure if I wanted to make this look like it was a tiled wall with this little shelf or what I wanted to do. I ended up going with this one. You can see it a little bit more in the center than you can on the front, but any of these would probably be a good choice. This one's a nice wall tile, and then there's wood grain on the back. Don't mind that little scrap. There's this tile, and then it's like the painted texture on the back. This paper is very subtle. Some of them are very subtle anyway, but nice and neutral. So you can get a lot of ideas with this one. There's this stone, the stacked stone, and then a nice gray texture on the back. This one is like a pink painted texture, and then more wood grain on the back. These ones are all the same. You can tell I've used some of those. We have another stacked stone with a lighter wood grain on the back. Another tiled pattern or stone pattern with like a woven kind of almost like burlap on the back. Now I've showed you guys these ones already. This one here is the one that I used for the little wood ledge. So that's what that one is. And then it's got this nice basket weave on the back. I used this one last year. This paper carried over, so it was actually in the catalog last year. I used this one with some Easter projects last year, and some pink baby projects. And I combined that with this one and did a pink Easter project or baby project. I think it was actually a combo of both. And then we have this one with another wood grain. You can tell I've used that one up. And one more pattern, I think, or two. We've got this one here with this nice pink. Oh, I used this with that other card as well. It's like a minky blanket. It's adorable. And then this beautiful white textured one. I love this one. And then some more kind of wood palettes on the back. All right, so that is that DSP. I believe I showed you this one already, but I'll just make sure that that's not a new pattern. Oh, that is a new pattern. So there's this wood grain and then that one on the back. It's a gorgeous pack of paper. So that's one that if you like to have neutrals on hand, that would be a good one to add to your collection. It is not 20% off, but actually if you're a demonstrator it is, but 20 or 25% off. All right, so I have pre-cut almost everything. I will do these two elements with you guys so that you can see how I did that. And we will get started. Before I actually start, I want to show you, I was telling you guys yesterday that Linda sent me a card in the mail, and I loved her fold that she did. She's got some really fun folds, and she's done a lot of work with the Flowering Tulips suite. So I showed you yesterday and said that I wanted to come up with something with this fold, and I was hoping to use it with today's bundle. So that's what I did. So I mimicked her fancy fold, and then came up with this one to share with you guys. So she had this here, and then I used her fold, her DSP idea here where she lined both sections with DSP, and then I used that one there that I showed you guys. So now we'll get started. Is anyone who did not eat supper now hungry after reading what everybody had for supper today? It's funny how that works. I agree. It is a beautiful card. I don't know if you have seen the other cards that Linda has sent me with that suite, but they're just amazing. Okay, so we have the card base, and some layers. So I've got, this one here is the 5.5 by 8.5. It only has one score in it just yet, but I will make another one afterwards. I'm just first going to get all the elements ready. And then we've got this is the inside layer. It is 4 by 5.25. I textured it with painted texture just to tie it into the front. And then I have 2 coordinating pieces of DSP that are this panel here and this panel here. They are 5.25 by 1 7/8. And then I used the Stitch So Sweetly. I made 2 of these, one to go on the front and then one to go on the inside. So those are there as well. I have layers that go on them. One is textured with the painted texture, one is not. This will be the layer to write on the inside with. I did not yet cut the 1/2 inch strip that I have put on here, but I'll show you guys that. And just wanted to note that that 1/2 inch strip of the 6-inch piece of DSP that they come in was enough to do this and then this little strip here. So that was how I used that and kind of tied them all in together. And then I have all of my little elements here, so I'll put those away in just a second, but I've got a 1/2 inch by 3.5 inch strip that I made the ledge with, and then just a couple of greeting strips in case I make a mistake. And I have the whisk in black and silver and the spatula. So we will use all of those. I also have some linen thread, and I have some 1/2 inch strips of white scraps that I will show you a little trick with those as well. So then next I have my die cut layers. So I needed I dropped them on the floor while I was getting going here. So I have a piece of Pool Party that I am going to create this little bowl with. And then I have some crumb cake that I'm going to die cut the cutting board with. But I have an extra little technique to show you with this. Sorry, I'm just going to shut the sound off on my phone because it's dinging over here. All right. Have you guys done this fold before? Let me know if this is one that you guys have tried. And then we will get started here. So I also have a little piece of painter's tape, and I'll show you guys what this is for. So I've got my crumb cake ink and my crumb cake cardstock, and what I'm going to do is take this die. It has all this neat texture in it, and it will press that into the die even just on its own, but I wanted to give it a little bit more detail. So you can see in here how there's extra detail pressed into the lines there. So what I'm going to do is just take the die, place it face down on my ink pad. I don't want to press so hard that I get a bunch of ink all over the recessed parts of the die, or the raised parts of the die, I should say. So I'm just gently tapping that on there. And then I'll take my painter's tape. If you have a sticky note, that should work too. And then lift that off. And then that way I'm not getting my fingers all over that. This might not be enough. I'm going to, I'll run it through and see. Might even just place that back down one more time. I actually did early espresso before, but I had to cut it twice. The first time was too dark. So we'll see how this crumb cake goes. Would have been a long time ago. Yeah, I don't think I have. I know I have done this fold with the orientation where it's landscape, but I don't think I've ever done it with a portrait style card. So I thought that it was fun to see it switched up with this orientation. So now what I'll do is I will just take this, and I want to run it through. So I'm going to just disappear for a second and run this through. I meant to grab my little mini machine, but I did not. So I will just use the large one. So now I just have it in my Stamp Cut and Emboss, and I'll just run it through there, and then hopefully it'll come out with the color and the texture. And then you just need to make sure that you clean. Yeah, it's got a little bit extra detail there. So then it's just got the imprints with a little bit of ink in there as well. I didn't want it to be too much, so that's why I switched it for crumb cake this time. But that will do. I would maybe do it with the espresso again and try to sort of stamp it off, if that makes sense, but that'll do for now. And then what I want to do is get my stamp here. I have clear embossing powder handy. So I'm going to stamp my little bowl. I think it's a cute bowl. Just with Versamark. I was thinking of making that ink mixture again with Whisper White and colored re-inker in Coastal Cabana to go on this, and then I realized that if I just clear emboss, it will sort of give that effect on its own with the tone on tone. So Versamark on Pool Party ink, or cardstock, sorry, is what this is. So now I just want to coat that. This is clear powder again. Whoops. There we go. I may as well just pour that in here. Do any of you guys have these trays from when we used to carry them? I really wish that we would get these back. These and the ribbon scissors. Those are, and the big mat, the big black mat. Do any of you guys have that? I still have one. Or a couple. Just before COVID hit, I was wishing that we had them so that I could put one at every spot in my class space. So I would still not mind having some of those, some extras of those. And then I'll just use my heat gun. Gotta move it around here. Sorry for my arms in your view. So you'll see here where it will just switch from powdery to nice and glossy. And once it's all glossy, then that's how you know that it's all heat set. Sorry that you guys have to watch this and listen to it. Have all of you heat embossed before, or is heat embossing new for any of you guys? I'll check the comments in just a second to see what your answers there are. There we go. But I love the tone on tone look that gives from using the clear powder on your colored cardstock. So now what I need to do is just take my, I just want to make sure that's not still hot while I run that through the Stamp Cut and Emboss. So I'll just tape this in place. And I just have some washi tape I ordered myself. Something today that I'm excited to try in place of washi tape. So I'll report back once I get it and we see if it works out. You just got the heat tool. Oh, Deb, I'm excited then for you to give this a try. Oh, that's right. I forgot Dollarama used to have those. Janet, you need new ribbon scissors. Oh no. I hope that those of you who have not tried this fold will give it a try. So I'm just disappearing off camera for a second while I die cut this, and it'll just take me a second. Well, I can't wait, Deb, for you to get to give heat embossing a try. So here we go. Now we've got that really cute little bowl. I think it's cute anyway. So for those of you who either have this on your wish list or you already have it, is your intention to make cards or are you scrapbookers? I'd love to know what the interest is with this stamp set. I got it last year when it first came out, and I think it's really cute. I just haven't had a chance to play with it yet. So I'm very glad for this sale happening so that I was prompted to dig it out and play with it. Okay, so what I will do is we're actually going to start the card now that we have all these little elements ready. You would use it for cards? I know one of my team members has a son who loves baking, so she has used it for that for sure. I'm not sure if she's made cards, but I know for sure she's scrapbooked. Okay, so what we want to do, I've done one fold, but again, I'll show you guys both of them. So you just take your cardstock and put it in your whatever scoring tool you have. You want to score halfway between the main fold and the end. So because we're scoring this at 4 1/4, we want to score at 2 1/8. So 2 1/8 and 4 1/4 are the measurements that you need to get that fold. And that's it. And then I've got my bone folder. I'm not going to actually burnish those just yet, because you can see here I need to line this panel and this panel, and it's easier if I do that before I burnish those folds. So just like I've done with some of those other fancy folds I've showed you guys, you want to just adhere some of the layers before you go ahead and burnish. You can still do it afterward, it's just a little bit harder to get everything nicely lined up. And these two here are going to just go right on there. So we may as well attach those before we fold anything. Do you guys adhere your layers that way, or do you burnish first and then wish you had left them flat to put the layers on? I like Tombow for this too, because then you have a little bit of wiggle room to make sure your layers are straight before you press that down. Hi Brenda. Hi Rhonda. Everyone else who's joined in since I last said hello. Sometimes you get the notification that somebody has joined in, but not always. Or people have to step away and come back. I know sometimes when I'm watching I have to do that. If a message comes in that you need to reply, then you just reopen it again. So we have those two pieces of DSP on there. And then this will end up folding. So you take this and you fold that one forward and this one backward. So like that. Hi Lena. Layer first, but you use a ruler. Oh, I actually used to use a ruler when I very first started scrapbooking a very long time ago. Like, I think before Ryan and I were even dating, never mind married. And even to cut my mats, or to cut, if I cut something out of the inside, I measured everything. But now I just eyeball a lot of things. Yeah. Okay, so now I want to build this layer here. So I've got one of these Stitched So Sweetly layers, and I want to use the textured one on the front. So I'll use that, and then I actually spattered that a little bit just to give it a little bit of detail within the texture. So I'll use my black blends and the brush tip. So I just want to, you can see here, look on my mat, there's a few little spatters there. They'll just wipe off with some rubbing alcohol. So just take your tip and just carefully, you don't want to press too hard so that you don't want to destroy the tip of the blends, but just enough that you have a bit there. And this isn't going to wipe off on my project because of the blends. It'll just dry there and I can wipe it off later. So before I attach this, I will do my usual trick. I like to just distress the edges of many things. We also used to have a little distressing tool, but I find my snips work just as well. They're pretty quick to use. And I have a few pairs, so I'm not really worried about whether or not it wrecks them, but it hasn't ever seemed to. Do you guys use your scissors for that, or do you have a different pair of scissors for different things? I have my ribbon scissors for sure. The white textured measurements, this one here, I'll measure that one for you. And actually, I will tell you which scalloped rectangle this is. I think it's the biggest one, but let me just check so that I can give you guys that information. And if any of you case this, please come back and show me. I love seeing what you guys go forward and make. So let's just make sure this is the largest. That is the largest scalloped rectangle from Stitched So Sweetly. And the measurements of this one are, it's supposed to be 2 5/8 by 3 3/4, I think. Yeah, 2 5/8 by 3 3/4. It's a little bit smaller once I distress the edges because it kind of presses them back a little bit, but then it fits nicely inside the stitched lines of that rectangle. So this is how I typically store my dies. I put the name on the top with the number of dies, and then I just tuck them in a sleeve. And I keep the ones that I use the most in a separate little stand. I'll show you guys the little stand, but I keep it handy on my desk. There's nothing in it right now because they're over here, but I just have this little thing that I got. Oh, we were at convention 2013. They had a couple of these left at, oh, I can't remember what the name of that store was, but it was in Utah. And so I just tuck these into here like that. So my most used ones, and then they're just at my fingertips so that I don't put them away every single time. All right. So now I can go ahead and glue this down. Oh, it was like some, I'm going to have to figure out what the name of that store was. You're welcome. And it's the same size for the one on the inside of the card as well. Find you kind of have to make, cut some odd measurements to get them to fit inside these stitched edges, but it's worth it. I love seeing that stitched edge. Okay, now what I did for my little ledge is I took just some scraps. And we probably all have a pile of these 1/2-inch white scraps. If you ever cut your cardstock down to make white layers, like even this one, for example, when you cut your card layers to be 4 by 5 1/4, you always have that 1/2-inch offcut. So I save those. I probably need to thin them out some, but I wanted something to make this little ledge more sturdy, because you can see with this DSP, it's very pliable. And it overhangs this scalloped layer that you're going to be folding and moving. And I didn't want that to just get crumpled really easily. So what I did was I just made a sturdier base for it by stacking 3 of these, and then I glued this down to it. You can use a stitched rectangle in white and cut along the stitched line to create the layer. I'm not totally sure what you mean there. To go inside this one, I do actually need to trim these little white ones down just a little bit. I want them slightly less than a 1/2 inch, just so that they're a little bit easier to layer. And this piece here was a 1/2 inch by 3 1/2. So I'm also going to go just a hair less than 3 1/2 on that. And then I'm not trying to fight with the white pieces being a little bit too big. So hopefully you guys don't mind watching this little layer here. But I thought that it would be a fun tip to share with you guys in case you need to give a layer a little bit more stability, especially just a simple layer like this. It's just a straight section, so it's not a lot of work to give it that extra stability. If you guys are interested in seeing the All for Baby bundle that I used for this one here, I don't think it's on sale, but remind me at the end and I can show you guys that. Okay, so these ones here, I'll just use some Tombow. And, oh, I must have left that without the lid on. I've got some other ones handy, so I'll grab a different bottle. I just went through all of my Tombow bottles. Do you guys ever get a collection of them going? Whoops. That one's got lots. Definitely more glue than you need. You do not need that much Tombow, but that's what just came out. There we go. Jeepers. So this is just a sturdier base there. And then I'll stack that piece of DSP on there. So I just want to make sure I don't have a sticky edge. There we go. It's a little bit sticky here, so I will make sure that that becomes the top here. It will be hidden and I won't have a sticky side on the bottom corner. There we go. So now this is nice and sturdy. And then I can use that as my base there to layer everything on top of. I was thinking I would dimensional this layer, but I knew then it would be really easy to catch that. So that was how I decided that I needed to do something to make that a little more sturdy. And because now it's nice and raised with those 3 layers, I'm not even dimensionaling that. I'll just leave it as it is. Okay, so I need all of these so that I can layer these elements now, and I actually need to stamp the greeting on there. So I'll stick with Happiness is Homemade. My chair keeps dropping here. I think it's time for a new chair. If you guys know of a good chair that can raise and lower, I would love to know. I don't necessarily need one that's counter height. Fit it in the black. So I've got the Happiness is Homemade, and then I will stamp that guy there. There. What colors would you guys make? Would you make it to match your kitchen or the kitchen of whoever you're giving this card to? I'd love to know what colors you guys feel would be good alternatives. I started with red, but I wasn't sure I loved it, though I don't mind that there now. But this was the one I originally made. And then I switched it out for the blues. I'm sure that's no surprise to many of you that I switched it out for these colors. I actually have some things being worked on for my page and a website and blog, and I can't wait to be able to reveal it, but I'm sure you guys can guess what colors it is going to involve. So what I want to use to attach this little ledge is some tear and tape, and I'm not putting that edge to edge because it's going to overhang. So I just put that down the center of it. And then again, I'll use my, just like I have done in other videos, I'll just use this as my guide as to how high I want to place this. So I'm leaving about 1/4 inch along the bottom, and then I'm centering it as best I can. This is where some of you might measure. Aoife, would you measure this? Probably would be not a bad idea. I could use my grid sheet behind me too. Shocking on the blue, right, Janet? All right, so now we've got this here. I will next layer my cutting board, and I can see here, when I first built this, I actually did it right on here so that I could make sure that everything was lined up where I want it. But now that I have one done, I'll just use that as my guide, and then I'll work with putting it onto here afterwards. So I'll dimensional this one here. I've got all my adhesives hiding underneath things over here. And I want to just be careful, actually. I put that a little too low. I'm putting this high enough up that this edge can hang over this here. And this is nice and raised now because it's got those 4 layers, 3 of white and 1 DSP. And so I'm just going to be able to butt that up there. So I didn't want these super low, otherwise they would get in the way of that ledge. If that makes sense. Janet, does this give you any ideas on what you can do with your bundle? I like to try to give you guys ideas for things that you already have in your collection not just things that you don't have yet, but I like to see you guys use the stuff you have. I always feel more fulfilled when you guys are able to use the product you have. So I was happy to have this suggestion to use this bundle. Now this bowl, I did a double decker because I wanted it to pop forward a little bit more than the cutting board. So I'll just, whoops, snip some of these outer ones in half. Use those. And again here, on this side here, I don't want to go so far over that it will butt up against the cutting board, or the bottom actually, so I need to move those ones up. I overlap this over the bottom just a little bit, or the ledge here. Whoopsie. That one's garbage. I probably should have stuck with regular half-sized ones, because now I need to match up my double deckers with the same shape that I have here. So I'm peeling the backing and then stacking this on top. And because I've used this odd shaped, that one just went flying, dimensional, I had to use the same shape to double decker it, otherwise it wouldn't quite work out the way I want. So now this is going to just get butted up there. There we go. And then now I can build all of these little layers I've got. So I've got the whisk in black and the spatula in black, and then I have the whisk in silver, and I only need this tip here in the silver. I could have cut this with adhesive sheets, but I did not. I didn't think of it at the time, so I'm just going to use my Tombow, and this one was coming out really fast, so I just want to make tiny little dots. I think it has an air bubble in there. I had a couple bottles that had almost nothing left in them. It was so hard to use them, so I took some time on the weekend and I refilled a couple of bottles with what was left from the others. So I just used my silicone sheet, and the excess that's there, I am just tapping it off on the silicone sheet first, because otherwise all of that glue that came out with that air bubble is going to squish out when I apply this to the black layer, and then it will be all sticky, and I don't want that. So if you just tap the excess off first onto your silicone sheet, you can help save yourself a lot of frustration when the extra glue seeps out, especially when you're working with foil. It is very hard to get any excess glue off of foil, so that's why I wanted to make sure I used my silicone sheet. Just tap off the excess, and then you have a nice clean whisk instead of one that has glue sticking out everywhere. And with the Tombow, you can still then slide that and make sure that it's all lined up. Or if you used adhesive sheets, then you can avoid that altogether. It's probably the better way to go. Or you can just use a black whisk and forget the whole thing. All right, so now what I did next was I put this little spatula, I just tucked that in here. So I'll just use a little bit of Tombow there too. So I'll actually bring that sheet back. You can just put just a thin amount. Don't even need that much. And I will just tap off the excess there again. I don't want that to seep out and get all over the cutting board. And then I'll just press that and hold. Then I will use my Tombow again, and I just tucked this one in here. Hi, Jen. I'm gonna bring that a little higher, actually. Jen, do you have this bundle? I can't remember if you do yet or not, or if it was one on your list. Okay, so I want to just take a peek at that And I actually want to raise that just a little bit more so that when I put my greeting on, I'm not fully hiding that whisk. So that was why I just scooted that up a little bit. So then I have this extra little detail here. I have a little bit of linen thread in there, so I have that handy. And again, if you guys have been around, you've seen me do this, but I always like to show you. So I'm just putting a little piece of the tear and tape on the back. I put it behind this end here. And then I can take my linen thread. I just leave enough hanging down on an angle that will look like the tail. Then I can just flip this over, make a faux bow loop and another loop. So I just tack that down like that, and then it looks like I've tied a bow. So you just have those layered behind there. Sorry, my fingers have left a little bit of glue on there. And then I tape it down again with another piece of tear and tape. So then that way it holds it in place. I'm going to dimensional this, so by covering that with tear and tape, it's not going to tack down where I don't want it to. So then I can just get rid of that and put my dimensionals back there. I will actually fold back a little bit of this backing because I want to put a dimensional right on top of that. There we go. And then I'll double decker this as well, because it's going to overlap here and I need to single decker over the bowl. I almost called the bowl a bow. There we go. Now I can dimensional that. Oh, you're welcome. I'm glad that you learned something new. I always love it when there's a little piece of something that is useful to you guys. All right, and then I just want to make sure that is up top. I didn't want to put the end of the label as far out as the ledge. I wanted them a little offset from each other. So I'm gonna stand up and make sure. There. So now our little front layer, our vignette, or whatever you want to call that, is all ready to go on the front of the card. So hopefully there's something there. I'm glad that we've got some techniques learned. Hopefully there's some inspiration in that for you guys. And then we can work on just building the rest of the card. So it's pretty easy from here. I showed you guys a technique the other day when layering a similar type of fold where you have an inside layer and an outside layer that need to line up. I taught you guys last week to put this one on first and then do your fold and layer this one on top. But I did not do that when I made this card. I went ahead and put the front on and then realized, oh shoot, I forgot to put the inside layer on first, and now I've got to get it to line up. So I'll show you guys what I did with today's card so that if you make that mistake in the future, you'll know how to get around it. So what I did, I'll actually put this inside layer in first so that that's done. And because it's textured, I like to actually glue it in with tear and tape instead of just Tombow. I don't know, I'm just finicky that way. And I like to make sure it's got a nice secure hold. I did not spatter this one. It is mostly covered with that scalloped rectangle from Stitch So Sweetly, so I didn't bother. But it is a technique that, as you guys have seen, I love to do. I actually made another card today. I started it yesterday and I had to put it aside and work on some other things and finish today. And I forgot to do that, so it's okay. I'll live with it. Janet saw a photo of that card and I will share them yet. They have one thing that's retired on them, but so I've got that now. That's painted texture, and again, for anyone that needs it, it's 4 by 5 1/4. And I am going to assemble this like I did earlier so I can show you guys how to get around if you accidentally put the front layer on first. And I'll just poke out that little piece there. I've showed you guys this extra tip before as well, but I will just mention it again. So when I have a layer that is overlapping a fold, I want to make sure that I don't put dimensionals behind this on this side. They need to be on this side only. Otherwise, I'll tape my card shut. So I just flip it upside down in place. I am centering this side to side and top to bottom. I want to make sure that my dimensionals are only on this side. So by flipping it upside down on here, I'll make sure that my dimensionals don't go past where the fold line is. Then that way when I flip it back over, they will all be within the space that I want them to be. And I tend to be generous with dimensionals, or at least I think it is, but okay. So you can see here, all of the dimensionals are to the left of this fold here, so they won't tape that shut there. So that's one of my assembly tips for you. So now I can just peel all these off. And then when I flip this over and center it, it won't tape that shut on me. I have probably done it before where I've accidentally taped it shut. Okay, so now we have this, and I'll show you guys here what my tip is for when you realize, oh shoot, I should have put the scallop layer on the back here first, because otherwise now how are you going to line this up and get it behind there? I do actually quickly need to layer this on here, and I told you guys that I would show you the cuts for this so that you could have the strip here and then the offcut left over to fit across one of these cute little gift boxes. You could even switch this out if you weren't going to do the baby dies. You could put the bowl again or a little cutting board and turn this into a gift card holder for a restaurant. I think that would be a good idea with that one as well. So these pieces of DSP come in a 6x6. So they come like this. You get 2 of each per color collection, but I already had a piece on the go. So I want to use that up before I cut into any more. I should get myself more of these before that retiring list comes out and then they sell out real quick. So I'm going to cut this at a 1/2 inch. And on this little cutter, if you guys have it, the 1/2 inch is the edge of the blade section, this silver piece here. And then I had told you guys that the width across is 2 5/8. So I will cut this at 2 5/8. And then this piece here is left over, and you can put that across that little gift card holder. So I'll save this. Maybe I'll have to do a second version with food related as opposed to baby related. All right, so now I'll just make sure that I didn't tell you guys anything. Yeah, we're good there. I say that I didn't tell you guys anything incorrect. Sometimes I do this from memory. Sometimes I make myself notes. And then I'll just distress this one again. This is the layer for the inside so that you have somewhere to write. Because I textured this layer here to coordinate more with the front, I wanted to create a panel that you could write on. So that was why I did this piece here. So this I will glue from front to back so that if there's any discrepancy here, which there is, so I'll glue this down first and then I can trim that off before I go ahead and stick those layers together. Gotta just peek at where I put that on the other card. You could also stamp on this layer too, if you wanted to do that. And then I can just flip this over and then trim off that little bit of excess before I glue this down. So now I can glue that again, just inside those stitched lines there. There's definitely an air bubble in this glue bottle. It is coming out much faster than it usually does on me. I'll have to try to fix that. I'm sure we have all lived it where that bottle has just dumped a pile of glue on your project and it is the stickiest stuff there is. So now I want to get this one ready so that I can glue it down. And again, because it's going down to this textured surface, I like to use the tear and tape. So we'll just put that on the back first. Now I'll peel all these backings off so that this is ready for the next step, which is remedying my problem where I accidentally glued on down the front first and then realized, how am I going to get this lined up behind there and have it all perfectly matched up? So my strategy then was to open this, lay it down as flat as I could, and then take this with the adhesive side up and perfectly match it up this way. So here I was able to just line the two scallops up to each other, make sure that they're in place. Okay. And then I can just take the card and close it on there. So because those adhesives were exposed, now it's attached there and they line up. So that is actually probably a little easier to do than the other method where you put this in first and then line that up. But whichever way is easier for you, then you have two different ways that you can make sure that that all lines up for you. And that was my little panic moment, crisis averted, when I realized that that was a way that I could still have those line up without trying to tuck it in there and end up frustrated with myself. So there you go. I did not add any bling. I left it at that, but I suppose I could probably put some enamel dots or something like that on it, but I will just leave it as is for now. But there you go. We've got a fancy fold and all of these fun techniques for you guys. So hopefully you learned something tonight. I know some of you did. Hopefully there was a little bit of something. I'll show you guys that was helpful to you, and I'll show you guys the baby bundle that I used for this one here. The cloud is actually from the spinner dies. I love those stitch clouds in the spinner dies. I think they're just adorable. This is one of the labels from the messages die that I use a lot. I don't cut the whole thing. I usually just strategically cut whichever, see if I can find it here, whichever label I want. This one usually goes back in here. So I use this one a lot, and I've been using this one lately, but that one is this here. So you can just place enough cardstock behind whichever shape you want, and then that way you've got all of these different greeting shapes. But I find I'm often taking this out. I'll actually show you guys. So here was how I chose which one. I just pick the stamp that I want, and then I take this die, and then you can kind of just hold the die over top of the stamp to make sure it's going to fit, and then you're not cutting a whole bunch of them before you know which one will work. You can just use this, line it up over whatever image or greeting, and then cut the one you want. So hopefully that helps you guys too with that one there. It does have a coordinating background stamp that has greetings that fit them all. I very rarely use that one. I just mostly use this die. That's where I find the versatility in this one. And then the baby bundle, or all for baby bundle, has these really cute stamps. And then these dies. So the baby onesie, even these dies are great as a standalone, even if you don't get the stamp set. The baby onesie, the hangers, the little clothespins. I used the little clothespins here to pin the shirt to the clothesline. I just used some linen thread, and then I used that painted texture again on the pool party layer. And I used my markers. I brought these so I could show you guys how I got that multicolored rainbow. So I used the brush tip of each of these colors, and you color the image all at once. So I colored the top row, the middle row, the bottom row, and then you just huff on it and then stamp. So I had already die cut the onesie and then colored on that and stamped it so that I could add just a little bit of color. Otherwise it was a lot of pool party and white. So that was my strategy there. And then there's the hangers there. The little rainbow does punch out or cut out that rainbow. And then you've got these coordinating little clothing dies to go with these images here. I just think it's so cute. It does have the little clothesline stamp if you weren't actually hanging them from linen thread, if you wanted to stamp that across the top of your project. But if you don't have the stamp set, your linen thread or even white twine will work for that. So it's not on sale, I do not believe. I'll just take a quick check, but I don't think All for Baby was on the, no, it's not. But when I was working with the stamp set, that What's Cookin' just kept making me think of something baby related. So I decided that that would be a second project that I could show you guys. I didn't have time to make 3 cards, but a little gift card holder is usually pretty quick to put together. So I hope you guys don't mind that or think it's too strange to put the what's cooking bun in the oven kind of idea. I was thinking if you put a little ultrasound photo inside, you could put bun in the oven on the inside or something like that. We don't have a stamp that says that, but that was my thinking. All right, so those are the projects. If you are inspired by any of this and interested in placing an order, you are more than welcome to either contact me or shop online. If you use this host code, you will get a free gift from me with a $65 purchase or a free exclusive class if your purchase is $100, and that will take place in April. So anybody that uses that this month, we will get to take advantage of that. So did you just draw the little rainbow here, Janet? It is this little stamp. So I colored on each layer of the stamp with these 3 markers and then stamped it onto that little onesie. I think the little onesie is like the cutest thing ever. I will never let go of that set of dies just because of that cute little stitched onesie. I love the little detail in that one. So cute. And then the same thing with these cloud dies from the spinner dies. I will keep it for those clouds, even if nothing else. They're the best cloud dies I have so far. So I'll actually show you guys the spinner ones before we go so that you can see how many. I know I showed you yesterday with, because I used one of the dies from it for the lion. Here I am telling you that I will show it to you, and now I first have to find them. They have been put, I moved them. I had them by the stamp cut and emboss machine. So these are the Give It a Whirl dies. So this one here, there's the cloud that I used, which has not been put back on here yet. There we go. So you get 3 clouds. You get all of these stitched stars. There is this little stitched heart. These pieces are for the spinner, so they're a little different if you're not intending to use the spinner part. But then you also get these 3 stitched hearts, this circle here. The stitched part does stay on the outside, so if you're just needing the circle, it wouldn't be stitched. And then you get this scallop circle and these greeting pieces. And then this big one here, it actually cuts the front, the card front, that gives you the component that you can build the spinner behind. I might have to do a video, maybe not while the Spring is in Bloom promotion is on, but I might have to do a video on the spinner dies so that we can build a spinner card. Let me know if you guys would like that. And then maybe that's something we can plan for. All right. So if you're interested in that, you're welcome to use the host code to place an order. Absolutely no pressure on that. And again, the Spring is in Bloom promotion runs all month while supplies last. So you just want to be careful that they don't run out on you. If there's something that you are interested in and you don't know if it is low on inventory, sometimes we get a notification, or we can check the inventory status report to see if it is low inventory, but sometimes it just sells out so quickly we don't really know. But always reach out if you have a question and you want to know if there are any alerts that it's on low inventory. And today is the deadline to register for Cards for Ukraine. We will be meeting on the 23rd of March to make the cards in support of Ukraine. I do not have them handy, but you know what? Let me see. They actually are right here. I think most of you guys have seen them already, but it's this one here and this one here. So we will make these 2 cards, 2 of each style. You can send them to someone you know who is Ukrainian or has ties to Ukraine and they just need to be shown some extra love right now. I have sent some out already from different styles that I've made. And you will also have a $10 donation sent to a local store. If you wish for it to not go to that store, then participants will just let me know that they want to send it somewhere else, like the Red Cross, but we would just need to communicate about those wishes. And people can either send their cards or they can send them to that store and he will sell them to make extra funds towards the cause as well. And another last reminder about the Beyond the Horizon Paper Pumpkin Alternates class. This one will be Monday, April 4th. Paper Pumpkin for March will bill by the 10th or 11th. So if this is something you're interested in, then you can let me know if you want to do the alternates class, or if you wish to just subscribe on your own, whether it's with your demonstrator or if you're a demonstrator yourself, then make sure you get your subscription in for that before the 10th. You don't want to miss out on that one. And then also we still have, I can take registration yet for Waves of the Ocean, and we will be doing 2 classes. Laura will offer one to you and I will offer one to you, and that will be on Saturday, April 2nd. So just let me know if you want more information on that. All right, that is all for tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed those. I hope you will go and try something out that you learned tonight. Oh my goodness, sorry. The dog is going a little bit nutty here with her running around and barking. Ethan just came home from a playoff basketball game, I think, from one of the teams at his school. So she's all excited that Ethan is home. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed your dinner or enjoy your dinner that we all talked about here. And I will post to let you guys know when I will go live again. If you guys are up for it, comment to let me know how often you are willing to come and watch me. I know that you guys are probably getting exhausted of being here almost every day. I'm loving being here stamping with you guys, but comment and let me know how often you guys would want to come and watch. Melissa, I'll message you. We are just getting that all wrapped up. So if you have not heard from me regarding payment for the fundraiser or Waves of the Ocean or the Beyond the Horizon, that will be sorted out over the next couple of days. So thank you guys all so much for your registrations, and thank you for being here tonight, and we will see you guys again soon. Good night.